This episode of the Creep Street Podcast is brought to you by Martini Coffee Roasters. You know, people always look at me weird when I say I start off every morning with a big old martini. But then I set them straight, and I tell them I'm talking about Martini Coffee Roasters coffee. A delicious coffee made by the Martini family. They roast their coffee using a traditional method of sight and sound to roast those little babies to perfection. And they also sell green coffee beans for those home roasters out there. And right now, fans of the Creep Street Podcast can get 20% off their entire order by using the code CREEPSTREET at martinicoffee.com. Once again, for 20% off your order, use the code CREEPSTREET at martinicoffee.com. Martini Coffee Roasters, the perfect coffee to keep you creeps caffeinated.
You've taken a wrong turn down Creep Street.
Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
I'm Maureen Bogey.
And you have arrived, folks.
Yep.
On a little avenue we like to call Creep Street, folks. Welcome to the Creep Street Podcast. As always, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Creep Street Podcast, Twitter at Creep Street Pod. We're also on TikTok at Creep Street Podcast. Also on our Facebook, we have a little forum where daily we like to interact with our listeners. It's a place where we'll post stuff, listeners will post stuff, memes, funny stories, scary stories. It's called Citizens of the Milky Way, a Creep Street fan page. Everyone is welcome to join that. You just find it, click the Let Me In button. One of us will let you in.
Big time.
Maureen, I mean, we've already known. Scientists have already concluded that once a week is just, it's not enough.
No, there's been extensive studies done on this.
Years of
studies. 3 years. And you know what? It's just, there's just no way that the human body can perform at its peak level with just one episode a week.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
So what do we do about it? What's the next step?
Well, thank God we have your solution, and it is over at patreon.com. There you can find all sorts of goodies. We have 3 different tiers, $2, $5, $10. Pick the one that is right for you, and you get all sorts of goodies with that, and it is at patreon.com/creepstreetpodcast. Please go check it out. Now, Maureen.
Yeah.
Last week, we gave them amusement park mysteries, and boy, it was a hot episode.
People have been out here popping off for it, and we're grateful for that.
Doing big numbers for Creep Street.
We're so glad that you lil suckers enjoyed it.
That's right.
We're grateful. Thank you for listening, by the way.
Absolutely. Oh, and by the way, we had a wonderful time at C2E2.
Yes, thank you so much to everyone who came out. It was a blast.
It was so much fun, and we hopefully will be able to do it again. And we're gonna come back bigger and badder than ever. We're gonna up the stakes for our.
We're gonna get a little crazy next time, we think.
Absolutely. But Maureen, today we have a devilish episode for them, and a topic I don't think comes to people's minds that often.
It's a little bit different. It's a little bit out there, but spring is springing.
That's right.
She's getting sprung.
Everyone's getting sprung, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. I mean, it's a nice day in Chicago today.
Yeah, I mean, well, at least it was earlier. It's a little cold now, but what can you do?
Yeah.
You can't have it all. You can try.
You're right. But Maureen, what is today's episode about?
Today, of all days, we are talking about killer plants.
Oh, you all are in for a nasty little treat today.
Yeah.
In fact, it's very fitting that we're doing this episode today.
Go on.
Because we are recording this on Wednesday. Today is the international release of the hotly anticipated movie, The Super Mario Brothers movie.
I mean, we're pumped. We got our tickets.
We are
ready to go. I mean, we're going immediately post-recording.
As soon as we're done recording, we are setting down everything and we are headed to the theater. And let me tell you something. Piranha plants.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of vicious vegetation in those Mario games.
I mean, those damn bananas.
Those damn bananas? You're absolutely right.
For Christ's sakes. So it fits.
It absolutely fits. Maureen, dive into this one. Let's get hot.
Let's get weird. Now, of course, as we always do, I gotta kick us off with our sources for today's episode. And my gosh, there were a lot of sources used for today's episode. One that we love, Monstrum, a great video series on YouTube hosted by Dr. Emily Zarka.
Oh yeah, what a dame.
We love her. So she did an episode on this as well. Then there's also the Oxford Reference. Hello, official alert.
A little highbrow on Creep Street today.
Always. Then we have a bunch of just luscious articles. First, we got Bizarre Cases of Mysterious and Lethal Monster Plants by Brent Swanser at Mysterious Universe.
Ooh, a little bit of Swanser never hurt anybody.
Come on. Then we got 7 Incredible Mythological Plants and Herbs by Nicole Etolin at prettyopinionated.com. Then we have Vampire Pumpkin at occultworld.com.
Whoa.
Then we have the Corpse Flower at the United States Botanic Garden. .gov.
Whoa.
The government isn't on this one. Take that as you will.
How high does this go?
Yeah, I mean, is this... Let us know, email us, or just, shout out on social media. Do you think we are government operatives? Do you think we are secretly members of the CIA?
Who knows? Who knows nowadays?
I don't think we are.
I don't think we are.
But how can you really know?
I know. Absolutely.
So pop off, let us know what you think. Also, we have The Mystery of the Crooked Forest by Yvette Yang at discovery.com. And then we have a little bit of yokai.com.
Oh, okay. Dipping our toes in the wonderful world of yokai.
Yeah, just a shout out back to our previous yokai episode.
Amen.
Our wonderful Japanese folklore, sometimes spooky, sometimes cute friends.
Absolutely. Gotta love it, folks.
So the deal with killer plants. We all know that there actually are killer plants.
We sure do.
There are lots of plants that are lethal if ingested.
Of course.
Such as belladonna, such as lily of the valley.
Yeah.
Such as other stuff.
I mean, goddamn, mold. Certain mold. You inhale
exactly.
them, you get sick. Yeah.
And, I didn't go a ton into this because this is going to piss some people off. Dylan and I have not yet watched The Last of Us. I know. I'm so sorry. I want
the game.
to. Yes, Dylan has played the game, and we are going to watch the show. Very excited to watch the show. It's just there's so many shows,
Yeah.
You can't watch them all at once, but we're getting to it. It's going to happen. Everyone says it's great, and I know we're going to love it.
Yes, absolutely.
So anyway, I didn't go into a ton of detail because, we're not show watchers yet. We will, but we're not yet. So I didn't go a ton into it, but I do know that is kind of the deal.
Right, it's like fungus.
It's a fungus. It's a fungal pandemic rather than a viral pandemic.
Yeah.
So so are fungi, plants, I don't really know, but they're, the same vibe.
Yeah.
And that is more of a case of a, extreme. And according to articles I have read at the New York fucking Times, they said that can't happen, that it wouldn't happen like that. But that is scary. And it seems like a lot of people are sick from mold like all the time.
All the time.
I mean, goddamn it. My first apartment in Chicago, I'm pretty sure, was infested with mold.
Oh, yeah.
And me and my roommates were coughing all the time.
Me too. I once had it. Yep.
That's kind of ceased since I moved out of there. So anyway, yes, mold is very scary. Legit. And so are these other things that I've mentioned, these other plants that are toxic. And we are going to talk a little bit about that today. That's not coming up.
Right.
But we're more so thinking about killer plants that are really murdering you.
Literal, almost sentient.
Yeah. And even if they're not sentient, you'll see. And of course, we know there are plants that do literally kill living things.
Of course, like your Venus flytrap.
Your Venus flytrap.
Your various, yes. But we're talking throughout history, there have been legends told of plants that will straight up kill a human being within a few moments. Like as if they're predators the same way like a tiger or a lion or a bear would be.
Exactly. Because there are these plants like Venus flytraps where they do eat living creatures. But the thing is with them is that they actually could not break down a human being, even if it was small enough to fit in a Venus flytrap, or if it was a huge Venus flytrap like Audrey 2 in Little Shop of Horrors.
Ah, yes.
It would take them so long to break you down that by the time it started doing that, you would have healed from it.
Ah, so the body heals itself quicker than it can unheal.
Then it can, fuck it up. And so even these Venus flytraps or whatever, it's better for them when they have like a dead fly or something rather than a living fly.
Okay.
Because even the living fly is trying to heal.
Absolutely.
And if that's not inspirational, I don't know what is.
Oh, okay.
But so even then they're like, it's better when it's already dead, so it's not gonna.
Yeah. I would have thought like, I know nothing about them. I would have thought when it catches a fly, maybe the fly just smothers.
So it doesn't. It does kill it, but I don't really know how long it takes to kill it.
Okay.
Yeah. There are also what are called pitcher plants, which is basically the same idea as a Venus flytrap, but really it's like a pitcher. It's like the leaves or the petals or whatever make like a cup. Apparently monkeys even use them as cups sometimes.
Oh,
which
wow,
is
that's interesting.
Incredible news.
Really smart, yeah. So damn smart.
Yeah. But it like the walls of the pitcher, as it were, are very slippery. So these little guys, they fall down into the like lake of, I don't know, sap or whatever it is, and then they get stuck in there.
Ah.
So sometimes they're not literally like jaws closing in. Sometimes it's literally just like a cup, and they get in there, and that's how it works.
Now, what about the penis flytrap?
Okay, the penis flytrap, I'm glad you brought that up, is when a penis is a trap. When the penis is a trap. Because oftentimes they are traps.
Oh, okay.
So just think about that. So just be careful of the Venus and the penis flytrap.
Will do.
So I have a few spooky, scary, weird cases of these killer plants.
I would love to hear them.
And we're going to get to that. First, I want to start off with just some, maybe not necessarily killer plants, but some plants that are a little nasty, a little rough around the edges. They could fuck you up.
Okay.
First, we got to talk about it. The corpse flower.
Ah, yes.
Some people might know what this is. Some people might not know what it is. I thought this was apropos to bring up, even though it doesn't necessarily kill you or anything like that.
Yes. Well, it's a good way to start off before we get into the serious motherfuckers.
Exactly. It is. And this is a real fucking thing.
Yeah. Well, didn't they have one at the Chicago Botanical Garden?
Sure do.
Because I remember it was a big deal when they did.
I don't know if they still have it or have one, or I don't really know, but they definitely did have one for sure.
Right.
Now, it is huge. One of the, biggest flowers. We're in the plant kingdom, and it's called the corpse flower because the odor it emits off smells like rotten flesh.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this.
Yes, and it also emits a little bit of heat to just send that scent out there.
Oh.
Out in
so like garbage on a hot day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And it brings in these bugs and these flies and whatever the hell to pollinate for it.
Ah. And aren't these pretty big?
Oh, they're very big. Like bigger than a person.
Really?
There are 1,000 of these plants remaining in the wild.
Wow.
The population has declined more than 50% over the past 150 years, mainly because of logging and oil palm plantations.
Ah, okay.
So you know what? Let's all be a little bit more cautious. I mean, these only grow in, a small area. I believe it's like a part of Asia.
Oh.
But yeah, let's keep these guys going.
Absolutely. Wait, what is it called again? A death flower?
A corpse flower.
Ah.
It smells like a damn corpse.
Sounds like a Tim Burton movie.
It kind of does, and I wouldn't be surprised if it, has been in one. Now, another plant that is not deadly, but I think is worth talking about, and this is 100% real, is the crooked forest.
Whoa.
I thought this was worth bringing up. The crooked forest is a grove of about 400 pine trees, and they are located in West Pomerania in Poland. But when they were planted around 1930, the location was still a part of Germany.
Okay.
You might be thinking to yourself, hey, this is just a grove of fucking trees.
Yeah, of course.
But they grow a little bit up, and then they all grew, it seems, at an about 90-degree angle from the base.
Whoa.
Going directly north.
Wow, okay.
Yes. But then once it does that for a little while, then it goes back to going straight up. And they can go to it can bend, the curve can be like anywhere between 3 to 9 feet sideways and then go up. And then they grow up to be like 50 feet tall.
Wow. That's so weird.
Yeah, it's very weird. They're like these J's. And I mean the letter J, not joints.
And so it's not the trees themselves, it's just how they're growing. So these are trees that anywhere else would grow normally.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like it's the specific breed of tree or whatever the word term is that does this. Oh, it's just because it's this area. It's almost like, what's it pointing to?
Yeah, and it's a huge mystery. No one really knows exactly how this happened. If, it was, man interference that made this.
Right.
But there's no evidence of anything.
Wow.
They can't figure it out. And I believe it's a national park in Poland today.
Wow, very cool.
So if any of our Polish listeners out there popping off, we love you, by the way. Maybe go to this forest and tell us what's up.
Absolutely.
Then we have a yokai. Once again, if you haven't listened to our yokai episode, recommend you do. We love it. But yokai are, if you don't know, basically it's a blanket term for really pretty much anything like of the paranormal, honestly. And even things that aren't paranormal, but mainly paranormal. And this one is called the Menendake.
Okay.
Once again, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. No hate to our Japanese friends. I just am not Japanese. Now, what this yokai is, it's a bamboo that feeds on the souls of lost travelers camping in the woods.
Ah.
So this is a little different. This bamboo won't kill you,
but
it'll benefit from it.
It'll snack when you're done.
That's right.
Now, most obviously, all plants would feast on you when you're done, when you're dead. That's just how nature works. But this baby, it wants the soul.
It wants the soul.
Oh.
Then we have something that you might think to yourself, excuse me? And to which I would respond, I agree. And that is vampire pumpkins and vampire watermelons.
I've never heard of this, and I am so freaking excited.
Yeah, I'd never heard of them either, but God bless them. Apparently they're a thing. And this comes from the Balkan area of Europe, and especially apparently in the Romani folk religions.
Ooh, okay.
Now, apparently any fruit or vegetable really can become vampiric, but it seems like pumpkins really have kind of taken over.
Ah, okay, all right.
Now, this pumpkin, I guess, would be activated to become a vampire pumpkin. And this happens sometimes, not all of the time, apparently, according to legend. That if a pumpkin is kept longer than 10 days, or not consumed before Christmas, leaving it out at night and exposed to a full moon, I mean, these are all ways that could possibly create a vampire pumpkin.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
And here's the thing. Sometimes you can see, like, blood-like splotches on the outside of these pumpkins.
Oh, God. Okay.
Now, I'm a little concerned or just confused because they say they're nothing really to worry about because they don't have teeth. But then I'm like, so how are they vampires? I don't quite get that. But apparently they can attract malevolent spirits.
Oh, God dang it.
And I think that maybe they can kind of, really take advantage of someone who already kind of has low energy, someone who's already kind of has a weak aura, as it were.
Okay.
So keep that in mind, especially our farmers out there.
Interesting.
Now there's another plant that this doesn't necessarily kill you, but it might.
Oh,
and it
God.
is called hungry grass.
Oh, I think the name probably says it right there. Ugh.
Yeah. And we're not talking about hungry grass like grass that gets you hungry like marijuana.
Yeah, different kind of hungry grass.
Right, not what we're talking about. Hungry grass that we're talking about is a belief in Irish mythology,
Okay.
apparently. It is an enchanted area of grass that the leaves of it have been, enchanted or cursed or whatever, to make anyone that walks across it to be extremely, extremely hungry, to the point where they can even starve.
Wow, so it's almost like it begins to drain the nutrients from your body.
Yeah, I guess so. And apparently this can happen if a corpse in, the zone and the area has not received or was not granted their last rites.
Oh boy.
A little Catholicism for you there. Happy Easter weekend. Happy Holy Week.
Oh, that's right. This episode will be coming out on Easter weekend.
On friggin' Good Friday. So pop off my kings and queens. But also, apparently, hungry grass may occur because of malicious fairies that have caused a little chaos.
Knew it. I freaking knew it.
It's often the fae.
Yeah.
It's often the fairies, the fae. Now, where hungry grass comes from is not exactly known, but a lot of people think it has to do with the Great Famine, aka the potato famine going on in the 1840s in Ireland.
All right.
I mean, it does make sense, of course, because tragically, so many people, of course, were feeling starved.
Right. People were starving to death.
Yeah,
right?
and horrible,
Absolutely.
which is,
awful.
unthinkable. Now, hungry grass made its way over to the US of A. Don't think that it's just at the Emerald Isle, okay?
Of course not.
Apparently, this popped off even in Missouri, rural Missouri, in fact. There was an earthquake in 1811, and people started to think after this earthquake that this being came out related to hungry grass called the Gortach of Missouri, is what these Irish immigrants started calling it.
Whoa.
These Irish Americans.
The Gortach.
And this guy was harassing hemp farmers.
Okay.
Come on. And caused all sorts of, things to go wrong. Business issues, crop destruction. But it turns out, in 1910, apparently, people kind of put together that the farmers that smoked a little bit of that hemp were exempt from the bullshit.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So not only is it good for glaucoma.
Yeah. I mean, it's good for a lot of shit.
Hey, it's good for a lot of things, baby.
And so, when cannabis was prohibited back in 1937, people kind of cooled off with that because there before then was a little bit of a celebration that would kind of keep this Gortach, or however you say it, at bay. But after 1937, people kind of cooled off. But now it's coming back again, where people in south central Missouri, deep in the damn Ozarks, are holding a celebration, probably smoking a ton of fucking weed.
All right.
And just enjoying
Keeping that
the
Gortach
world.
away.
Having a little bit of that different hungry grass, as we mentioned before.
Absolutely. This kind of hungry grass will make you crave Cheetos.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The hungry grass that we talked about initially makes you hungry for, sustenance, maybe a meat, maybe some vegetables.
Right.
But this one, the Gortach version,
It's like, get me some Ben & Jerry's and some Cheetos.
some fucking Cheetos. And if I don't have something made by Entenmann's, I will die.
Absolutely. You will.
That's just science. Now let's dive into some real dark, nasty motherfuckers.
Let's do it. Let's
Some
get
real-
into the horror.
Some guys that are really out here trying to kill.
Absolutely.
First, we have the man-eating lotus of Nubia.
Whoa, okay.
Now, this is a huge lotus tree that apparently has gorgeous, gorgeous flowers. But these flowers smell sweet and apparently there's also succulent fruit. But these are not there just for show or to bring in some insects and stuff for pollination. No, they are used to lure in the prey, the human beings. There was an 1881 travelogue called Under the Punka, where there was an explorer named Phil Robinson, and he talked about these man-eating plants and how it attacked his dang uncle,
Whoa.
Apparently, the uncle shot just a bunch of bullets at this tree, which in these situations often happen. And he even had to take out a knife and was, stabbing the dang tree and cutting the vines off and the branches off. And he was eventually able to escape, but one of the native guides were not so lucky. Now, this here is a quote from Phil Robinson himself. "This awful plant that rears its splendid death shade in the central solitude of a Nubian fern forest sickens by its unwholesome humors all vegetation from its immediate vicinity and feeds upon the wild beasts that in the terror of the chase or the heat of noon seek the thicker shelter of its boughs. Upon the bird that, flitting across the open space, come within the charmed circle of its power, or innocently refresh themselves from the cup of its great waxen flowers. Upon even man himself, an infrequent prey. The man seeks its asylum in the storm, or turns from the harsh foot wounding sword glass of the glade to pluck the wondrous fruit that hang plumb down among the wondrous foliage, and such fruit! Glorious golden ovals, great honey drops swelling by their own weight into pear-shaped wonder. The foliage glistens with a strange dew that all day long drips onto the ground below, nurturing a rank growth of grasses, which shoot up in place so high that their spikes of fierce blood-fed green show that far up among the deep-tinted foliage of the terrible tree, and like a jealous bodyguard, keep concealed the fearful secret of the charnel house within, and draw round the black roots of the murderous plant a decent screen of living green." So a little bit of a bastard.
Yeah.
Kind of a lot going on there, a lot to unpack. But essentially, this guy, Phil Robinson, back in the 1800s, said there was a dang tree that was really hunting.
Wow.
Kind of. And killing. Instead of just kind of being passive, it really was going after it, going for it. But this isn't the only case of such trees. There's also the man-eating tree of Madagascar.
Whoa, okay.
Now, there was a German explorer named Karl Leech, or Leachy, in 1878. And apparently, there was a crazy sacrifice in the village that he was in Madagascar that was of this crazy, intense sacrifice to this giant flesh-eating tree. And later, Karl Leech, he described the scene and said that the tree itself was around 8 feet tall and appeared kind of like a pineapple almost. It had 8 long pointed leaves, and the trunk of the tree was topped with this receptacle, it says, that contained a thick liquid, like kind of these pitcher plants that I was talking about before, and that this thick liquid drugged the prey and also was highly addictive. I don't really know what the point is of being addictive because it just, kills you.
Wow, okay.
Because you're in the zone. I don't really get it. But
maybe if it doesn't get you that first time, it gets you coming back.
It gets you coming back. Exactly, like cigarettes. Now, apparently surrounding the receptacle were long, hairy tendrils and 6 white tentacles. And it also possessed white, transparent leaves.
Interesting.
Now, this is what Karl has to say. The slender, delicate palpi, with a fury of starved serpents, quivered a moment over her head, then as if instinct was demonic intelligence, fastened upon her in sudden coils round and round her neck and arms. Then, while her awful screams and yet more awful laughter rose wildly, to be instantly strangled down again into a gurgling moan, the tendrils, one after another, like great green serpents, with brutal energy and infernal rapidity, rose, retracted themselves, and wrapped her about in fold after fold, after tightening with cruel swiftness the savage tenacity of anacondas fastening upon their prey.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So, this is another case of a tree using its friggin' vines like tentacles.
Dear God.
And choking you out. And there is, believe it or not, another tree like this.
Oh my God.
This one apparently was in South Africa.
Okay.
And it was called apparently the Umdelabi.
Wow, okay, all right.
And it was first recorded as we know it in 1870 by Reverend Henry Callaway in his book called The Religious System of the Amazulu. And apparently this was in, the wilds out there in South Africa. And I guess these trees were always surrounded by the skeletons of animals that it consumed.
Wow.
Apparently it killed its prey with an intense toxin that it would expel through the air. And it could kill small animals like birds instantly.
Wow.
Within a snap of your dang fingers.
Wow.
But apparently it could really affect humans as well. It would cause fevers, delirium, bloodshot eyes. Apparently sometimes they would not even be able to sleep or even sit down.
Okay, interesting.
And I guess they would just pace back and forth until they just keeled over and died.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, apparently the only way to cure the sickness caused from this tree was actually to eat the fruit from the tree.
Interesting, okay.
So, tough stuff. Now, this next one, it's not a tree per se, but it's some frickin' vines. That's for damn sure.
Okay.
One that I'm talking about, I'm sure there's many cases of this, but the one I'm talking about is called the Devil's Snare.
Oh, yeah.
And you can only find this in Hogwarts. Just kidding, you also can find it in the jungles of Nicaragua.
Wow, okay.
Now, this plant was described by a naturalist named Mr. Dunstan. Don't know why we don't have a first name, but what can you do, literally? But here's the thing, he was studying the animals and the plants of this region, and he came across the Devil's Snare while he was near Lake Nicaragua. He said that he was collecting specimens when he heard his dog let out a cry of terror and pain.
Oh, God.
Yes. So Dunstan hurries along to find his dog, and his dog is just trapped in all of this rope-like roots and vines and fibers. Apparently they were so dark they were almost black.
Wow, okay.
And it had like a gum on it, kind of. It excreted this gum from kind of like pores, apparently. And the gum was so sticky and foul, and it had a terrible odor. And apparently this dog was struggling, and the Dunstan couldn't get him out, and he took out his knife, and he was trying to cut through it. And finally, he was able to get the dog out.
Good, okay.
The dog got out, but it was tough. And just from touching the vine, the skin on his hands were red and blistered. And the dog apparently was bleeding and had cut spots of him that were puckered, almost as if they were sucked.
Whoa.
And apparently, Dunstan found out that the vines, or whatever you want to call this, the Devil's Snare, was well known by natives in the area. And they all were like, don't mess with it. What does Dunstan do? He goes back. Classic.
Oh my God.
Classic. And he tries to get more information. He tries to get more of it, but he's just not able to handle it. And this is what he had to say. The plant's power of suction is contained within a number of infinitesimal mouths of little suckers, which ordinately closed, open for the reception of food. If the substance is animal, the blood is drawn off and the carcass or refuse then dropped. A lump of raw meat being thrown to it in the short space of 5 minutes, the blood will be thoroughly drunk off and the mass thrown aside. Its veracity is almost beyond belief.
Wow.
Now, I saved this one for the last one because I hate it so much.
Okay, well, let's hear it. God dang it.
This happened in 1852. There was a report of this plant being seen, and this is a quote from the source.
Let's hear it.
According to some Italian journals, a new organized being was being discovered at the interior of Africa, which seems to form an immediate link between vegetable and animal life. This singular production of nature has the shape of a spotted serpent. It drags itself along the ground. Instead of a head, it has a flower, shaped like a bell, which contains a viscous liquid.
Flies and other insects, attracted by the smell of the juice, enter the flower and are caught by the adhesive matter. The flower then closes and remains shut until the prisoners are bruised and transformed. The indigestible portions, such as the head and the wings, are thrown out by 2 aspiral openings. The vegetable serpent has a skin resembling leaves, a white and soft flesh, and instead of a bony skeleton, a cartilaginous frame filled with yellow marrow. The natives consider it a delicious food.
Wow.
So this is like a snake-plant hybrid.
Wow.
And that's why I hated it so much, because
Ugh.
it sounds disgusting. But the thing is about its head being a flower, that is a thing that we talked about. That's essentially what he's describing is a pitcher plant as the head.
Wow.
Now, let's get real. These last few ones that I mentioned that are clearly not the true ones that I mentioned at the top, as well as the folklore ones that I mentioned at the top.
Right.
These last ones that seem to be, written about in journals and all this stuff back in the 1800s. A lot of you might have been like, interesting that none of these are in Europe. All of these killer plants are mostly in Africa and Latin America or South America.
Okay.
Now, a lot of this comes down to the classic, it's not a surprise to anyone, but it always sucks, the kind of fetishization / exotification of these places.
I see what you mean. Okay.
Like how, dangerous and unexplored and wild lands.
Absolutely.
So, and it's also kind of a way to say, like, hey, the people coming from these places.
Yeah, it's an indirect...
are also in it, like, they're otherworldly.
Wild, right.
Like, not in a, like, angelic way. In, like, a...
They're not like us.
They're not like us. The world that they live in is not the world that we live in.
Right.
And it's also probably a lot of these people just straight up made the stuff up. Not some of them just to, be hateful.
Yeah,
but
sure.
some of them, they're, as we see today, they're trying to sell copies.
I see what you mean.
They're trying to get that cheddar.
Yeah.
And you know what? There were so many unbelievable things being discovered all the time, quote unquote discovered by white people from these areas, that these stories aren't really that far out of reach.
Absolutely.
For example, like the Western world at least didn't know that gorillas were real. They thought gorillas were like urban legends.
Yeah.
Until I think like the 1900s.
Yeah, it was within recent history that absolutely, you're absolutely right. So, and there's a whole fascinating part of the weird and unexplained called cryptobotany.
Yes.
Which we'll dive into more. It's fascinating. The idea kind of what we talk about with cryptids, like, these rare or mythical creatures like Bigfoot. You know? Not saying Bigfoot isn't real, but you know what I mean? But it's there's a lot of that too with you hear about mythical plants. I'm sure a lot was created because of what you said. And who knows, we might have weird plants that we have yet to discover. I mean, there's
which is
so
totally
much,
possible.
Yeah, there's so much of like the Amazon that has yet to, because it's so dense.
I mean, new insects and things like that are being discovered all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, so I think plants offer so much to human life. They, create so much medicine and food and clothing and, everything. That, I mean, there's so many of them. And we didn't even get into underwater plants. Oh my God, that's a whole other zone.
Oh my God, yeah, there will definitely in the future be killer plants too.
We'll dive in. We'll get back into it. But yeah, so basically, I mean, throughout history, throughout folklore, throughout everything, there have been so many cases of these plants, and you know what? We love to hear about them.
Absolutely. Maureen, thank you so much for doing all that incredible research, and I'm going to tell you what.
All right.
I got a list of names I wouldn't mind slipping off into a greenhouse with.
Okay, a little sexual but I love it.
But hey, for this group, it's worth it.
It's possible.
Folks, give it on up for our top-tier Patreon subscribers. Of course, the Dream, James Watkins, the Finished Face via Lunkfist, the Madman Marcus Hall, the Vivacious Vicky McHugh, the Tenacious Teresa Hackworth, the Heartbreak Kid Chris Hackworth, the Oh-So-Suave Sean Richardson, the British Bonebreaker Bex Martin, the Notorious Nicholas Barker, the Terrifying Taylor Lashmet, the Count of Cool Cameron Corliss, the Archduke of Attitude Adam Archer, the Sinister Sam Kiker, the Nightmare of New Zealand Noeline Vavilli, the Loathsome Johnny Love, the Carnivorous Kevin Bogey, the Killer Stud Carl Staub, the Firestarter Heather Carter, the Conqueror Christopher Damian Damaris, the Awfully Awesome Annie, the Murderous Maggie Leach, the Sir of Sexy Sam Hackworth, the Evil Elizabeth Riley, Lauren Hellfire Hernandez Lopez, the Maniacal Laura Maynard, the Vicious Karen Van Vuren, the Arch Nemesis Aaron Bird, the Sadistic Sergio Castillo, the Rapscallion Ryan Crum, the Beast Benjamin Huang, the Devilish Chris Doucette, the Psycho Sam, the Electric Emily Zhang, the Ghoulish Gert Hankum, the Renegade Corey Ramos, the Crazed Carlos, the Antagonist Andrew Park, the Monstrous Michaela Schur, the Witchy Wonder JP Weimer, and the Freaky Ben Forsyth.
Whoa. That was huge.
That was great, gang. God, Maureen, thank you for doing that.
No, my gosh, I'm so happy to do it. It was a fun kind of change of pace, switching it up. But thank you so much to our top tier Patreon subscribers. God, we love you.
We do.
Thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers, and thank you to all of you for listening. We love you all so much. Please take, if you wouldn't mind, we would love it, if you would take a moment to like, rate, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend about us, share us on social media, say a little prayer for us. Whatever you do, we would love it.
Absolutely. Folks, well, Maureen, it's time you and we scamper off to the Mushroom Kingdom.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. We'll keep you guys updated. We'll keep you updated. Hope you enjoy it.
Absolutely. Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
I'm Maureen Bogey.
Good night and goodbye.
Goodbye.